How we first met. It was a blind date. It was one of my really good friends. She came over to my house on a Friday night and she had gone on a date that morning and she was telling me about it. She was like, you know, I'm just not sure. It's like, that's fine, you know, like, and she started asking me to describe what my ideal guy would be like, that I would like want to marry. And I said, you know, someone who loves the Lord. I would love to be with someone who is a worship director, someone who is just really kind and sweet. I would love to be with someone who knows about the Enneagram because that's a huge form of language that I use. And so I just began to list all these things. And then Sarah just kind of looked at me and she was like, so can I set you up on a blind date?
Susanna and I met through, well, okay, I have to tell the truth. We met because I went on a date with somebody else, and while we were on the date, she was like, hey, this is great and all, but I really need to introduce you to my friend Susanna.
And I was like, sure, I've never been set up on a blind date before. And then she tells me that it was with the person that she went on a date with. And I was like, is that okay? Like, girl code? Are you sure you don't want to date him? And she was like, no, like, I think you guys just trust me. And I was like, okay.
I just really laughed because I don't know, she definitely like almost went in for a hug when we met instead of like a hi. She was like, hey. I was like, I've never met you before. This is a blind date. And, but then at the end of the night, she was like, we were just really comfortable with each other and it just worked, dude. It was amazing. We closed down a Panera and then just drove around town. And I don't know if it was really like I knew right then, but I was definitely thinking this is something real.
The whole I love you thing, man. He said it first, which I'm not surprised at all because he's just all up in his emotions way more than I am. But I remember it was on our third date. We had known each other for 2 weeks at this point, and he had told me at the beginning of the date kind of like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I'm not the type of person to just throw I love you out there. Like, when I say it, I really mean it. And I was like, okay, great. So you're like thinking in my head, I'm like, you're not gonna say it for a while, you know, like we'll build up to this. And then at like that date, we had I shared a lot more of my story and just what I've been through, and he shared more of his story. And after I had shared a lot of things that I've been through and just that the Lord's brought me through, and of course I'm crying, sharing all of these like emotional things. And he just looks at me and he's like, I love you. And I was just like, like, what? You weren't gonna say it. And so for a brief moment, I remember thinking like, don't say it back. Like, I had to catch myself because I was totally there too. And it was just the moment and, you know, but I was like, no, I can't say I love him after 2 weeks. Like, that's ridiculous. I ended up saying it like a week later. So yeah, he definitely said it first.
I just looked at her and was like, I love you. This is it. And I remember the next day, I told one of the pastors at my church, a good friend of mine named Jake Lowe, hey, you know that girl that I've been going out with for 2 weeks? I'm gonna marry her someday. Knew it right then and there, in that moment.
I like how goofy he is, but I don't know if I would say that's my favorite. It's definitely up there. I love how musically talented he is, and he won't say it himself, but he's just incredible. Like, it blows my mind that he can sing and play so many different instruments. I'm just like, dude, you're so talented. And I ask him to sing or play for me all the time. And yeah, it's just my favorite.
She has a piece about her that is infectious. And I always laugh about this because this is just the way that God has made her, is that she just has this way of setting people around her at ease, which makes people want to be around her, which drives her crazy because her favorite place to be is like just alone or just me and her. And so people are always wanting to be around her and always wanting to talk to her, and family wants her to be around all the time just because you're around her and you feel at ease. And I think it's just so funny, like that's how God has just kind of wired her. That's one of my absolute favorite things.
Our differences, he is all up in his emotions and I am not. I function off of facts and knowing things and things being steady, and yeah, just like I have the information, I can function. And he's like all up in his feelings, and we definitely are so different in that way, but it's great because then when I'm all up in my feelings, he knows how to navigate it so well. And when he's all up in his feelings, I'm like, hey, you have to remember the facts. Like, this is the truth and it's not changing. Hang on to that. So I think we balance each other really, really well in that, but we're so different in that area. I remember thinking like around the first couple of dates of like, I think we're at a pretty similar place spiritually and being ready for whatever the Lord had and kind of holding it with open hands, which I think is really, really important to get to like before you marry somebody. The proposal, what a build up to that day. That's all I have to say. I wanted it to be a surprise, but also I wanted to know when it was gonna happen.
So I knew I wanted to propose for a long time. And we had said we wanted to wait a certain amount of time because we really felt that there was a lot of chemistry and things were really working, and we definitely wanted to be like getting married. And so I tried to hold off as long as I could.
I told him I want to date for at least 6 months. And he looked at me, not waiting 1 second, and was like, April's not that far away.
Susanna, will you marry me?
Oh my gosh.
So much. Apparently I said something when I actually got down on a knee to propose. I do not remember to this day what that was. I have no idea what I said, but she said yes. And so that was really exciting.
Him being all up in his feelings frustrates me. And then when I'm all up in my feelings and he's acting like totally calm, cool, and collected, and I'm just like over here bawling and he's just totally fine. And I'm like, for once you're like, we never are both in our feelings at the same time, which is beautiful, and a gift from the Lord. But we always, like, I get so frustrated when I'm in my feelings because I don't understand them. And he's just there like, it's okay. And I'm just like, but it's not okay. And it really frustrates me, but it's a gift in the end.
I don't know, it was just definitely the healthiest relationship I've ever been a part of. And I just have always felt really safe to be myself and to, you know, I can be pretty extra, I can be pretty out there, and just, she was never really afraid of that. Willing to tell me when I was like being, you know, really annoying, but I never had to be afraid of who I was around her.
I feel like I have 3 words because I can't pick one. Vulnerable, because we've always both been that from the beginning, like just super vulnerable with each other. Authentic, like I don't feel like either of us have to hide anything from each other. It's just like, this is me. And then goofy, like I feel like we're both just so goofy together and not ever scared of like what the other person's gonna think. Like, oh my gosh, am I being too goofy? Like, is it weird if I like say this in a weird voice or whatever? But it's not. We're just both goofy.
The honeymoon.
It was fun.
We went to Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville.
Honeymoon.
And so we went and we got a little cabin, a little A-frame. Who was the chick that like you saw?
It was somebody that I follow on Instagram had posted about staying in this cabin outside of Nashville, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so cute.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna get it. So
we did. It was great.
It was very much us just to go somewhere really vibey and quiet and just out in the middle of nowhere. It was great. We would like, we would get up at like 5:30 in the morning, just go sit on the porch and listen to the forest.
Yeah, it was such a like drastic change of the season that we had been in, building up to the wedding, of like crazy busy and just everything getting like happening until like the first day of the honeymoon. It was just like,
I feel like this is the first relationship, and obviously like now taking this into marriage even more so, where you always hear different things as a single person about like what your marriage should look like as a believer, as someone who's been saved by Jesus. And, I feel like weave this whole thing together and in such a way that it's just like, man, God, you're so good. You are, you know, we're happy to give you all the glory in this because you're so good.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are.